Americans mention 1776 and a British person then says, what about 1812?
I was just saying nice things about Britain, but now you're gonna make me regret it, so let's talk about it. I'm a world history teacher, right? I don't really talk about the War of 1812, but I do talk about revolutions. And in my revolutions unit, there's really three big revolutions, right? The Glorious Revolution, the American Revolution, and the French Revolution. So when Americans are surprised that British people don't know anything about the American Revolution, we're surprised because you're missing a big chunk of world history. The American Revolution created the first stable Enlightenment government, which enshrined people's rights in law and granted equality to all of its citizens. Now, was it perfect? Obviously not. But it was a major stepping stone that Britain still hasn't achieved because you guys still have monarchs. It's embarrassing, honestly. So what about the War of 1812? Americans must not learn about that. Of course we learn about the War of 1812 because it's very important for our history. Now, I don't teach it in my world history class, but my friends teach it in their US history class, and sometimes I sit in. Let me tell you what I know. So the War of 1812 started because the United States wanted to trade with Europe, but England wasn't being cool about it. In fact, they were actively harming trade, and they were capturing merchant vessels and forcing Americans to man their ships, which is a war crime. So of course this caused us to go to war, and you've probably heard that Britain won, which is not true. On paper, it's a draw. In reality, America smoked Britain. It is true that the British burned down the White House, which, wow, major moral blow to the Americans, except it didn't work. The final battle, the Battle of New Orleans, was a decisive American victory, absolutely obliterated the British. We destroyed the British so hard that the general, Old Hickory, Andrew Jackson, became one of the most popular and then most controversial presidents ever. Dude's a real problem, and he was a real problem for the British too. So why is it a draw? Well, because after the Americans absolutely smoked the British decided, you know what? We will be willing to talk, and we talked it out, and we both got kind of what we wanted out of it, so it's technically considered a draw. If it went to the end, America would have won, and that's just a geography thing, really, but it would have been our victory. So maybe learn a little bit about history before you run your mouth and tell Americans they don't know anything about history, because you don't know anything about history.